After a main game that felt like it ended just before the real ending, and after waiting 6 months, we finally have the Claws of Awaji expansion for Assassin's Creed Shadows. The big question everyone's been asking is, does it actually fix the story? The truth is, this DLC is the rest of the game. It's the final act that was missing, and it feels absurd that we had to wait half a year for it, especially when you're paying an additional $25 if you haven't pre-ordered. This is supposed to be a 10-hour adventure, but to be honest, I finished and 100% completed it in just 8 hours. So was the wait worth it? Ubisoft provided me with early access so I could answer that question for you. I want to start with the positives because there are a few genuinely great things here. The new region, Awaji Island, is beautiful. When you first look at it, either from a distance or on the main map, it seems small, but when you arrive, you realize it's much bigger and incredibly well designed. The jungles are denser compared to the main map, the environments feel more alive, and it's easily one of the most visually stunning places in the game, so exploring it is a real joy. It's also worth noting that Awaji is a separate map which you access through a loading screen. Interestingly, the open world isn't safe since there are lots of traps scattered along the paths. You can either avoid them by going around or disarming them directly, and this adds real depth to exploration. It even makes stealth more engaging, especially in castles where traps could be anywhere. We also get a new weapon, the bow, and I have to say, it's surprisingly fun. It adds some cool looking takedown animations, and there's some depth to it too since you can use it in multiple stances. So it feels like a genuinely fresh addition to the combat. That aside, as you may know, the parkour has seen a few improvements over the last 6 months. They've added some new elements to Naoe's movement that make traversal more interesting. Of course, you shouldn't expect any new additions to parkour in Awaji expansion, but the routes, especially in the city, feel slightly better than what we saw in the main game. But that same repetitive tree is still here in Awaji as well, with no new tree climbing options, which is a huge missed opportunity for the game in my opinion. By the way, you can finally fast forward time now, which is a godsend given how dark the nights can get without a proper torch or lantern. And just to be clear, both this feature and the new weapon are also available in the base game. There are also some interesting changes to the narration and how this story unfolds, which was surprising to see. The characters have a nice build-up and introduction. Actually, this is what I was expecting in the main game with the Shinbakufu, which never happened unfortunately, at least not for most of its forgettable cast. In my opinion, what Claws of Awaji really gets right here is the number of Templars you have to take down, which has been reduced to 4 similar to the main game's final act. But that's where most of the good stuff ends. The same core problems that plague the main game are still here. The cutscene animations, for starter, are quite literally terrible. Characters move in a robotic way, their faces are stiff and lifeless. The game's incredible visuals and its somewhat promising story are dragged down by a combination of poor animations and weak voice acting, which still isn't great, at least in the English version. For instance, take this scene where Naoe is talking about her mother to Yasuke, expressing how she's insecure about meeting her after 15 years.
My mother. Tsuyu. I had this idea of who she was, what a mother is supposed to be. But now she is real. My mother, but also a stranger.
You spent 15 years building a fantasy. Give yourself some time. Both of you.
On paper, it's a great moment where the characters get to show their human side and get to know each other better. But the rushed delivery and clunky animations make it impossible to feel the weight of this scene or her emotions. Earlier games, even up to Origins, did this much better, but Shadows just fails to deliver. That rushed feeling is everywhere, including the expansion's final moments. Not to spoil anything, but the conclusion feels incredibly underwhelming. It's unsatisfying and repeats the same mistake as the main game's ending. And after waiting 6 months for this expansion, that ending feels all the more frustrating. They also try to tackle some of the shortcomings of the main game. For example, in the base game, the main protagonists felt like 2 completely separate characters who had nothing to do with each other and just happened to exist in the same world. This time you get to experience a quest where both of them are in the same room and work together. But it only happens once, and it's so bare bones that I can't believe it finished before even starting properly. To be honest, I really didn't like how the character switching system worked in the base game, and I still think it's such an immersion breaking mechanic that prevents the gameplay from feeling cohesive. I really wish this expansion had expanded on that front. As I mentioned earlier, Claws of Awaji has you hunting 4 main targets, and they're set up really well. Actually, I was super excited to see how they handle these villains. I was about to say, damn, they finally understand how to make them more menacing and memorable. Until the game slapped me in the face and forced me to take down 14 different targets first. I'm not even joking. Here, take a look. What's worse is that none of them have any significance to the story other than being the captains of one of the main targets. They spawn in the same handful of locations every time, and all you do is fast travel and kill them. This is clearly a cheap way to artificially extend the gameplay length. It's a terrible design choice that instantly dragged the game down for me. But that being said, some of the main target encounters are genuinely interesting, with one in particular that feels straight out of Metal Gear Solid 3. By the way, I also made a video about MGS3 the other day, so you can check it out from the corner of your screen. But back to Awaji. The non-linear structure is still a problem in this expansion. You see, when you kill one of the main targets, the others don't acknowledge it at all. It makes the world feel disjointed and static. Look, I love freedom of approach, but I don't want to play a bunch of disconnected narrative islands that usually offer the same thing. Dear game developers, if I take one target down, please make the others more cautious. Make them mention it. Make the game harder depending on how the player approaches the story. Do you remember Uncharted Lost Legacy? That game did this perfectly with its puzzles. No matter what order you approach them in, the others changed in difficulty gradually. Of course, this would require a smaller, denser world with fewer targets that have proper build-up and presence, something that Claws kinda had the foundation for, but never utilized. Fortunately though, unlike the main game, Awaji's main villain is handled well and has more presence. But again, everything about this villain feels rushed, since the game keeps you busy running around instead of giving you memorable scenes with better cutscenes and better pacing. I really don't want to spoil its surprises for you, but unfortunately this DLC and every character in it had so much potential that was never utilized until the very last second. It's just so upsetting. Also, the side activities are almost identical to the main game. The only difference is in the zoomies. Here, instead of drawing an animal, you draw an environment. But as you know, there's no player input in these anyway, and beyond that there are still no mini-games or new types of side activities, not even with the expansion. Other than that, there's something that really bothered me, and it's not even related to the DLC, but actually to the main game itself. Ubisoft Quebec finally released the first legacy outfit for Shadows, the Ezio legacy outfit. It looks incredible, by the way, but the way you unlock it is the problem. You see, in the older games, you earned iconic outfits like this by completing quests or finding a treasure or something. Even if it wasn't a legacy outfit, acquiring the main outfit was memorable. In Shadows, however, not only does the outfit suddenly drop into your inventory like just another piece of loot, but for something like Ezio's legacy outfit, you have to complete weekly challenges in a battle pass to earn it over several weeks. It's not even a memorable quest, it's simply a chore. It just wastes your time with unimportant tasks. And if you're like me and forgot to switch your progress bar to the one battle pass project that offered this outfit, you'll have to wait even longer to unlock it. I just hope Ubisoft reconsiders this approach and moves back to the proper way of unlocking rewards. I mean by playing meaningful quests and completing actual gameplay challenges, not just repetitive tasks with meaningless numbers. And that really gets to the core of the problem with Shadows as a whole. It's a game that's afraid to commit. It's not the old school Assassin's Creed we knew, with its parkour platforming, cool target assassinations and deep lore, and it's not even brave enough to be something new either. It's stuck somewhere in between, with a rushed, underwhelming story, a disjointed gameplay approach, and a feeling that it doesn't really care about the franchise it's a part of. There's no proper use of the assassins in their traditional sense, especially given the time period. There's no bold storytelling, and of course, there's no playable modern day and no deep lore elements like Isu or their artifacts being used. So, does Claws of Awaji fix Shadow's story? It just finishes the base game story, but don't expect it to do anything else. With this expansion, they gave us the ending that should have been in the main game, but the rest of it still suffers from the same issues. And worse, the expansion is so short that, as I mentioned earlier, everything ends up feeling rushed. Shadows is a beautiful game with great stealth, awesome castles, and cool combat, and the Claws of Awaji is exactly the same thing. Shadows is a fundamentally flawed Assassin's Creed game, and this expansion doesn't change that. To finally answer the question I asked earlier in the video, I don't think the wait for the expansion was worth it. I expected more story elements and more Assassin's Creed, but it under-delivered on both, especially when it comes to the main characters, not even the villains. So I think if you enjoyed the base game, you'll enjoy Claws of Awaji as well, but if you're looking for something that reinvents the wheel or fixes what was broken, this isn't it. I know some of you really expected to see deep lore stuff here, and I know how disappointed many of you will be, but I'm personally willing to give Shadows one more chance to see if they can deliver what we want with a second story expansion if they ever plan to make one. And now that you're here, tell me in the comments whether you think this DLC is worth $25 or not.